here somewhere.
Yes.
Would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes.
Good job, Lois.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the meeting tonight. Let the roll call reflect that every board member is present. No. Every board member is present, as is Dr. Lewis, members of cabinet, and we have everybody here who's supposed to be here. Let's see. I want to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting and remind the audience of the request to address board cards that must be completed and submitted to the board secretary if they wish to speak to an agenda item. Board policy provides for 2 cards, white cards to be submitted in order to speak to an agenda item, and blue cards to be submitted in order to speak during public comments. Policy also states there is a 5-minute maximum time limit per speaker. Due to the open meeting law, board members are not allowed to address items that are not on the agenda. If you do not want to address the board but wish to give your comments in writing, you can do so on a goldenrod sheet, and all members will receive a copy. That will take us to item 2A, approval of agenda.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. That will bring us to item 3A, which is public comments, and I have Mr. James Diaz, who have submitted a public comments card.
Good evening, Governing Board and Cabinet. My name is James Diaz, and I'm the president of the Creighton Education Association. I want to continue to talk tonight about staff retention in CSG. It is my intention to use past governing board meetings and data cited at those meetings from administration as source material for my comments tonight. As board members, I encourage you to request audio recordings of past meetings to listen and confirm anything I say. Because board members come and go, it is easy to forget that there is a sense of history to these meetings. Sometimes conversations are cyclical and do not always address the issue. The end result is your stakeholders sometimes feel defeated, like the system is designed to defeat them. Some disengage, some leave. In September of 2013, the governing board requested a presentation on working conditions and learning conditions from administration. During this presentation, the administration used a quote from Eric Hirsch that said, "Teacher working conditions are student learning conditions." I personally would say staff and not just teacher, but the premise of the quote is clear. A student's success in learning is connected to the environment developed for the person who is either delivering that education and or supports it. Now, some people might say, just pay your staff what they are worth, and the rest of it is out of your control. Indeed, pay is important. But Eric Hirsch took it one step further with his research. He identified 5 different categories to focus on: time, leadership, professional development, empowerment, and professional influence, and resources. Now, it will take too much time to go into detail with these categories. The previous governing board devoted a great deal of time in the study session. However, what happened as a result of this presentation was the creation of a governing board advisory committee called the Teacher Retention Advisory Committee that was jointly created by administration and CEA. In April of 2013, this committee presented the results of their findings to the board with a recommendation that the committee continue its work and create a working conditions survey as well. A draft was presented to the board in March 2014 and it was called the TEL survey. When implemented in April of 2014, the TEL survey had an 85% completion rate, which I'm sure we can all agree is significant. Then the results of the survey were presented to the board in September 2014. Since then, an update on teacher retention has been presented to the board each year, ironically with the recommendation that the committee continue its work. Now, some might say that the superintendent is responsible for this work. The statement was made in the past that the only employee of the governing board is the superintendent. I would argue differently. As a governing board, any position that is created in the district must be approved by the board. If an employee is terminated after a process is followed by administration, the termination must still be approved by the governing board. And that employee has the ability to plead his or her case directly to the board as well. As governing board members, you were elected to govern the Creighton School District. Respectfully, we are all your employees. We believe in shared decision-making as equals, like Hirsch said, empowerment and professional influence. But please do not misinterpret what I'm saying here. Shared decision-making is not decentralized decision-making. We believe in the role and purpose of the job of the superintendent as the individual who is responsible for implementing the vision of the governing board. We also believe that the superintendent has done a great deal in terms of collaboration. But in the end, the system is created by the governing board. And after this governing board removed the empowerment and professional influence of staff by voting to revise the meet and confer policy in CSD, there is mistrust among some that the governing board is dedicated to solving the problem of staff retention in CSD. It is my hope that this governing board shows by genuine action that you are committed to solving the problem of staff retention in CSD. Please look closely at the personnel actions in the governing board agenda as these next couple of months go by. If history repeats itself, we will lose over 100 teachers, which equates to about a third of your staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz. Okay, that takes us to the superintendent.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Our first opportunity tonight is to celebrate and honor our district with a presentation from the Apple company. And I'd like to ask Mr. Mann to help introduce our award this evening.
Yes, we do have representatives here this evening from Apple to recognize our I Achieve program. And I'd like to ask Brian Peterson and Carla, did your name on the right name? Did I get that right?
Benj.
Benj, sorry, Benj. Please come up to the podium. Just a few brief words. Good evening, Superintendent Lewis, President Castine, and members of the governing board. My name is Brian Peterson, and I am an Education Development Executive with Apple. On behalf of Apple, I am honored to recognize the Creighton School District's I Achieve program as an Apple Distinguished Program. I'd like to read to you the letter of recognition sent to you by our Vice President of Education, Mr. John Couch. He said, "Dear Dr. Lewis, it is a pleasure to inform you that the I Achieve program has been selected as an Apple Distinguished Program for the 2015-2017 school years, a 2-year designation. Congratulations on being recognized as an exemplary learning environment for innovation, leadership, and educational excellence. The administration and faculty at the Creighton School District have shown that they demonstrate the 5 best practices of an Apple Distinguished Program: visionary leadership, innovative learning and teaching, ongoing professional learning, compelling evidence of success, and a flexible learning environment. Apple has engaged with educators for over 30 years to explore and enhance the experience of teaching and learning. Our education mission is to provide a learning environment that supports the way students live and how they want to learn. We applaud schools such as this one that advance this mission, ensuring that all students are prepared for future success in work and life. Sincerely yours, Mr. John Couch, Vice President of Education. Apple Distinguished Schools and Apple Distinguished Programs are centers of innovation, of leadership, of educational excellence, and they demonstrate our vision of exemplary learning environments. They use Apple hardware, apps, and content, and they promote creativity, collaboration, innovation, critical thinking to transform learning and teaching. The members of the Creighton I Achieve program exemplify all of these traits, and they have, quite frankly, 40 years. And this is and was really the benchmark, the foundational, the seminal program in this area and region, and has been used as a lighthouse for others who want to transform their learning and teaching using technology. And with your permission, Dr. Lewis, I'd like to invite the I Achieve folks up front to accept this recognition.
Beautiful. And I might add, on behalf of all those before us who really built this program, who are living this program, and who are the empowered folks who are making this happen, all staff, our congratulations to the total team. Jay, can we do a picture? Come down for a picture.
We got down in front of the charge.
No.
Oh, you want first the bill? Yeah. Okay.
I got a few as they're doing that. Wait, next one. And then when you take more than one of these, and then the picture will be there. Social media capture. You probably have it.
Say that.
Let's do it.
Get rid of
That's why I took the time to train you right. Technology. It's my Zoom.
I'm going to continue my report from here so we don't go back and forth. There you go. But thank you so very much, and well-deserved leadership from many, many corners of the district, and Robin and Suzanne are instrumental in all that we've been able to do. Thank you again so much. While we're up here, we have another recognition that we'd like to make in my superintendent's report, and that is to ask Dr. Amy Burgess to come forward, please. Yay! There you go. And Dr. Amy Burgess just completed her doctorate in December, technically, but I think with all the paperwork and everything, the university, she is now a Sun Devil, a graduate. Give you the award.
I don't know, as a doctor, you probably were paying close attention to what you learned. So you know,
And then how does he do Zoom? No, he's still.
No.
very low.
And Amy, will you tell everyone what your dissertation was on?
It was really looking at teachers' perceptions of reform models, specifically how reading first impacted their professional knowledge and how it played out in the classroom as they transitioned to Common Core.
And what were some of your findings? Because we are focusing so much on what our teachers are learning.
So there was a big transition process for teachers. So teachers who were newer embraced reading first and have had a harder time transitioning over to Common Core. And teachers who taught before reading first transitioned and fought a little bit of tooth and nail with reading first and are now they're transitioning more to Common Core, but using some of those practices that they learned in reading first, those foundational pieces. So it
Change theory was at the core of your work.
yes.
Good. Well, once again, congratulations, Dr. Amy. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Where's the cake?
Ironically, as we duck underneath the television and we realize how small our boardroom is, my final report for this evening is to mention that we are looking at an alternative location for our governing board meetings, and we want to engage people in the conversation about that, so that we can invite more people to join in the conversation, and so that we can utilize this space for more teaming and proximity of staff, so that we're more efficient as a body, rather than having various people all over the district working separately and in silos. So I just wanted to share with the governing board that I hope you'll all take a glance at the room for consideration that is over at Papago West, which we'll be looking at retrofitting, and I'd love to have your feedback on that once we can set up some times together, one-on-one or two-on-one. Thanks.
That will take us to governing board reports. Carl?
Good evening, colleagues. I have a couple things I wanted to share with you and publicly. When I think about what it takes to create the types of schools we're looking for, I just wanted to give a shout out to the board for addressing some very, I think, important questions and tackling them head on. And also recognize that we don't just do this alone. We have close to 800 staff, actually. I think 400 teachers, about 400 classified staff. And I, like every single day when I drop off my daughter, and she's not yet a tiger at Biltmore Prep, she's greeted by name with a smile and with a hug by Cheryl Wagner. And I can imagine being in that role as a professional, because I've been on that campus every day for years and never not been greeted with a smile and a welcome. And I think it really helps create the type of culture that our schools need. So in addition to our teachers, I just wanted to shout out our staff that help create and maintain the culture that we're looking for. I just was thinking about that the other day and want to share with all of you. Furthermore, I know we were in a public setting talking about our strategic plan and where we were with our consultants, and when we adopted last year a board vision about creating the schools we want. I just thought it was great, and I think that there were some really valuable contributions from everyone who participated. I really loved Ms. Young's contribution of adding some sentiment about love, caring, nurturing, cherished experience for our kids. When I think about the types of schools that are out there, some schools try and do that, some schools don't address it, and some schools are just not interested in that at all. And I've been it's really resonated with me. So I really hope that makes the final cuts, that part of our vision is a loving vision, a loving school system. And I also just want to continue to challenge the board to, when we think about the schools that we want, to not just treat the kids that come to our schools and the needs that we see that they have as kids with needs, but what if these were our own children? And if our kids were so far behind in reading and in math, would we want them to have double math, double reading, no electives? I just want to challenge us to think about all of these kids as our own. I think we already do, but just wanted to make it super explicit. I think it would change some of the decisions, maybe. But I think we're on the right track. I just wanted to thank all of you. And furthermore, in creating the schools we want, working together to create the schools we want, just wanted to share an opportunity that I had to attend with Mr. Bowles, who leads our community, or the Creighton Community Foundation, with Dr. Lewis and with Mr. Mann at the Arizona Community Foundation for some ideas that he has for the foundation. I'm just really excited that this is not just a Creighton School District effort, that there are other folks interested in our work. We are clearly leading the way in a number of ways. I'm going to share more when we get to the legislative report. But there are folks who pay attention to what happens in Creighton. They want to see it flourish here and take it elsewhere. And that doesn't happen by accident. So thank you all for being on this journey with me. I'm really proud to be on the board with you guys, with you ladies.
Thank you.
Really quick, this week is Read Across America, and I'm really excited. I'll be going out to Excellencia later this week to meet some kindergartners and first graders. And so this afternoon I was down at the public library picking out some books. So we have a choice. Well, they have a choice of what I'm going to read to them. But I hope you all will join in. It's a lot of fun. I find it fun every year. I really look forward to this part.
Book you picked.
Okay, one of my greatest disappointments in life is I can't speak Spanish. I am really bad at foreign languages, and I murder the English language besides. But give me math questions, I'm all for it. In the library, I was talking to the children's librarian, and Excellencia has a lot of students that are Hispanic, of Hispanic descent. And so I wanted to give them the opportunity to join me with it. And I realize they're just first graders and kindergartners, but they have these fantastic books. Some of them are folk stories from Mexico, but the top part is in English and the bottom part is in Spanish with all these pictures. So they can read it in Spanish to me as I read it to them in English. So those are the type of books I picked, plus one Dr. Seuss, but they have a choice. Thank you.
Annette?
Yeah, that's interesting about Read Across America, because I'd like to, I didn't know it was happening since I was down with the flu for 2 weeks and pretty much in bed almost every day when I wasn't at work. But last year I was able to do Read Across America in American Sign Language. So I did green eggs and ham. Somebody held it, and then I did the whole thing in American Sign Language without speaking at all. And so the kids loved it. So that'd be nice if I'm not too late to do it some afternoon this week. I think that's about it. We've got the conference coming up next week, the 2-day conference, equity. So.
I also, I've read already in 4 classrooms to Read Across America. Dr. Lewis and I were there for the same time, coincidentally, and I did 3 classrooms at Excellencia, which was very fun, and a classroom in Creighton. And I was actually really pleased to be able to read in the classroom of one of my favorite teachers who left for a little while and was back, and so that was really fun to do. And Dr. Lewis and I visited Papago West. That was my first time visiting, and I was really blown away by the resources over there, the size and the potential opportunity for many things. I'm sure we talked a bit about possibly expanding preschool and thinking about something that would be self-sufficient and pay for itself, but gosh, there's a lot of opportunity. If those of you who haven't been, please visit. And I got to see where the potential new boardroom might be too, and it's really big, and I think would work well. So that was exciting. And another thing I just wanted to address, some comments that were made last week at the last board meeting by Mr. Diaz. I'm really proud of the things. I've talked to teachers a lot since before I was on the board and since I've been on the board. And I'm really proud of the teacher concerns that we've addressed so far, and the concerns that we all have as a board. And I just want to kind of go over some of the actions that this board has taken over the last 12 months to help address teacher concerns. We adopted a new English language curriculum, as you all know, and not just because kids deserve it, but it was really powerful to hear teachers saying they need it for workload, to decrease their workload, to decrease their stress, and to make them better teachers. That was huge to me. And we would not have been able to do that if we hadn't passed the capital override, which I, as well as many others, worked really hard to get that passed so we could have resources like that. We've also provided the biggest raise for teachers in the past 10 years. Our resources are limited, as everyone knows, but that's something that I'm really proud that we were able to do. We've also adopted a teacher evaluation system that was requested by teacher leaders. They told us it would grow them as professionals and honor them in the profession. And also, one of the goals we've made as a board is organizational health, and I think that's really important to teachers and staff. And I have heard from the CEA members that I meet with that they see a difference already in what Dr. Lewis is doing. And I think that's really powerful. So I feel like there's a disconnect from what we're hearing spoken publicly and the actions that the board is taking. And I feel like there's miscommunication somewhere going on. And I don't think that is a positive way to affect the organizational health. And I feel like we were being mocked for talking about specialized schools. And we're not trying to create more work for teachers by talking about specialized schools. We haven't taken any action on that yet. We want input from the stakeholders, from our community, from our teachers before we move into something like that. But the reason for that is to grow enrollment, to bring us more resources, and to make everyone here, kids and teachers, excited about coming to school, coming to the district. So I feel like there is a disconnect, and it's hard to work as a team when you do these things that you think you're doing the right thing, and then here it still is not enough. So, and I do think the strategic planning meeting on the 20th was great, and I think it was one of the best study sessions that we've had, and I think we made a lot of good progress. And I appreciate all of the work that everyone's put into it to get us to where we were able to be on Saturday, and I appreciate the patience of the team that started on it.
Thank you, Amy. Well, I have not read this week, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to because I just officiated my first wedding last night for my best friend. They wanted to get married on leap year or leap day so that they would only have to celebrate their anniversary every 4 years. I've been here for 10 years. It makes perfect sense for them. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it so much. I look forward to hopefully be able to do that again. And last Friday, in my other job in Isaac District, I was lucky enough to get to go on a field trip with some of our, we have 7 of our student leaders who were 6th and 7th graders. And we went to the Minority Student Achievement Network conference. It was a youth leadership conference. And I looked into it a little bit to see, it does cost money to be a member. But some of the things that I liked when I went to the website, because the conference was really phenomenal. It was kids from Isaac, Paradise Valley, and Buckeye. So 3 different school districts. Amazing, amazing keynote speaker. His name was Sean Martin. If you ever have a chance to come up, he's accomplished many, many things and was the Rural Educator of the Year a few years ago in Chinle, Arizona, which is on the res. So this organization is specifically for minority student leaders, basically, and it looks to close the achievement gap and develop leadership qualities with these students. And it also, so some of the benefits of belonging to this is, being able to go to the many conferences that they have. They have mini conferences, and then they have like a big conference. I think this year it's going to be in Madison, Wisconsin. Some of the things that you need to do is, I think it's great because they actually develop relationships with major research universities and other research institutions to help schools forge those kind of relationships to to do that kind of research and to move those districts forward. So it's just something that I'll share it in an email. I'll give it to Hilda. But I just, maybe we could take a look at it and think about if that's something that we might want to be a part of. Because like I said, the conference was great. It gave the kids a mission statement, basically, and it was all about how do we solve the problems that are happening in your schools. And being able to hear the kids finally, because one of my biggest complaints as Isaac tries to put in their PBIS system, there's absolutely no student input whatsoever, and nobody has thought that we need it. So I'm going to be on that committee now, the task force for PBIS, because I feel like that's a huge piece that's missing. So anytime I have an opportunity to help my students find their voice and to encourage them to use it, I will always do that. So I'll make sure I get that email to Hilda so the rest of you can see it. Okay, so that will take us to consent agenda items.
Move that every board approve consent agenda items A through H in accordance with policy PED-B-R.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. That will take us to item 8A, personnel. Dr. Lugo?
While they're getting the technical stuff, I'll frame it just a little bit. We have had several committees working on several parts of helping the organization grow and improve and talk to one another and be interdependent. And one of those teams has been the compensation team, who has examined the healthcare component in an in-depth and highly negotiated manner. And I'm so impressed with the work they're about to share with us. And I say that very much on the heels of about 20 email exchanges I've had with my fellow superintendents around the valley on the cost that they're considering bringing their boards to their respective meetings coming up. And the emails that they're sharing with each other and with me, of course, is they're looking at anywhere from 10 to 17% increase in the cost for health insurance. That's what's on the table for them right now. So I shed that as the frame for what indeed this team has come up with.
Thank you for that lovely frame. Good evening, Madam President, members of the governing board. I'd like to welcome Ms. Shandell Ross, who is on the compensation committee and actually led some of the negotiations with our healthcare providers, Aetna, and also Mr. Timothy Knorr, who is on the third team, who can provide some insight as well. This has been a long process that we've gone through, and I think you'll find the results from this evening favorable. It is on your agenda item as information/action, so please don't feel pressured to take action tonight if you don't feel you need more information.
Madam President and Board, I am going to just give you a brief overview of the minor changes we are suggesting for our medical plans. I'm just going to briefly go over the 3 plans. I am going to go over briefly one additional plan that's being offered. Our rep was able to break our rates down to 4 tiers, which actually we think is a cost savings. So I'll go over that. And Timothy is going to share once I'm done his thoughts. Okay.
Excuse me, is Aetna the health insurance that the employees are under now? Okay. So
Yeah,
there's no
that's not
change in
changing.
plans.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much.
The first plan is our Aetna Platinum plan. That plan had a 0 deductible, which is we are recommending be changed to a $250 deductible. Really fast, I'm going to just precursor this information with. We did reach out to our rep and say, okay, we want to keep all the plans the same. What rates can you give us?
we've had really low claims. They came back with a 6% increase. We then went and said, okay, if we give a $250 deductible to each plan, what can you do for us? A 5% increase. So as we talked with him, we kind of went back and forth to find out what we could tweak really slightly to help bring our rates down. So as I'm going over the very minor changes, this is what has been able to provide us an actual zero cost to our rates, okay? So the Aetna Platinum plan has the zero deductible changed to a $250 deductible. All of the copays remain the same for the plan. Prescriptions are the same. A 10% coinsurance was added to the plan. The maximum out of pocket per year is $1,500. That is staying the same. This is a very, very rich plan. When we shopped several other districts, nobody had a plan like this. So we were trying to do our best to still keep the plan because a lot of people like it. I just want to explain too that a $250 deductible does not affect your copay to go to the doctor or your copay for prescriptions. That deductible comes into play on this plan if you are hospitalized or you go to the emergency room. Okay? So it's not affecting anyone to just go to the doctor.
How about urgent care?
I'll see what you think.
Okay, urgent care is like the doctor? Okay.
There's a copay for urgent care, and on the purple sheet, I gave you both a white sheet and a purple sheet, just for your reference. The white sheet is the current plan, all three plans. The purple are the changes. Okay, but they're very, very minor. Okay, the banner or gold plan, as we call it, also had a zero deductible, which we are looking at possibly changing to a $250 deductible. All the copays stay the same. The co-insurance stays the same. Out-of-pocket maximum network stays the same. No other changes on that plan. I think we have like 280 on platinum plan, 270 something on the banner plan. Now, the silver plan is very similar to the platinum plan. So we asked our vendor to give us a quote that included a high deductible health savings plan. We've had several new employees ask me, do you have this type of plan? It's not something that we've offered before, and it is a different kind of plan, but it does meet some employees' needs. We would use this plan to replace the silver plan. The doctors are the same network of doctors. It does have a $1,500 deductible per person. The deductible needs to be met, and then the physician visits are then 10% cost to the employee. ER visits are also 10% cost to the employee. Any monies put into the plan, whether by the employee or the district, stay in there, they're never lost, continue to grow. The health savings account is set up in the employee's name and also allows them to pull in monies pre-tax. Offering this plan as one of the options allows us significant savings and a possibility to contribute a small amount to the employee's deductible. So, with all of the summary I've given you, the medical plan rates will actually decrease. The platinum plan cost to the employee is going to go down from $84.72 to $71.20. Okay. The banner plan, we're still going to be able to give to the employee at no cost, and the high deductible health savings plan, we're also going to be able to provide to the employee at no cost. I'm going to go ahead and have Timothy share. Sorry, Mr.
No,
Morris.
that's okay.
Come.
Dear Madam President, board members, my name is Tim Knorr. I'm a third grade teacher at Papago and also a member of the Meet and Confer Committee. I come before you to share my thoughts on the changes to our medical plans as we discuss them through Meet and Confer. The switch to the new plans will have an effect on every eligible employee. Unfortunately for some, there might be greater financial burden. However, the switch to the new plan is in the best interest of both the district as well as the recipients. Staying with the old plan would have resulted in a cost increase to both employees as well as the contribution made by the district. As well, if Prop 123 doesn't pass, the district would be forced into making drastic cuts with that 6.5% increase that we would see remaining with the same plan. You've seen all the numbers, so I don't really need to go into that, so I'll summarize. Overall, the new plans, while not the ideal solution to employees, is financially the better option for the majority of stakeholders. Thank you.
If this is approved, when would it go into effect?
July 1st.
And like the platinum plan, I realized you said it was you before, now it's down to 71. How long have we had plans that we, employees had, employees had to pay for? Because I remember that most of the health insurance, maybe it's because it's, health insurance changed in the last 3 or 4 years.
So the costs of rising health insurance became unaffordable, and I want to say that it was approximately 4 years ago where we asked employees on the highest, the platinum plan, which was our only plan at one time, and assumed 100% by the district. We asked them to cost share if they chose that plan, and at that time we were seeing increases of 10% and up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Would we like to entertain a motion for action? Or can we discuss?
Does anybody have any other questions or points that they want to make, or would somebody like to make a motion?
I move the governing board to the healthcare recommendations district panel. Medical, dental, and life for the 2016-17 school year.
I second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Motion passes. That takes us to business and plan, a presentation from Information Systems and Technology Department.
Well, we have a new leader in the Director for Informational Systems, and I'm going to ask Mr. Mann to introduce her so she can begin to shed some light on the developing visions that are coming from the team that she's working with.
Madam President, members of the board, it's an absolute pleasure to introduce Mrs. Kenny Johnson, who is our new relative in the past Director of Technology. And this presentation comes to you based upon a board request, I think, 2 meetings back. And one of the things that makes this a great pleasure to introduce is typically when we go to staff members say, hey, it's really great to come and present about what you're up to, what's going on in your department. Usually kind of get a way to present what the board decided. I have so many exciting things to do. So hopefully that infectious excitement that we share with you that day will now be shared with you, and very excited to turn it over to
Madam President, distinguished members of the board, Dr. Lewis, members of cabinet, good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present my vision, or our vision. When I first started with Creighton, I met with several different groups, most of which were the functional groups of my department. And then I met with some principals, cabinet, just to kind of get a feel for where we are and everybody's concerns. And through various meetings, we kind of came up with what my overview states here. Reconvening a technology advisory committee, changing the stakeholder culture, how help desk interacts with schools, and how they support the teachers in the classroom. Some network infrastructure upgrades that need to happen, technology refresh for students and staff. I know some have entertained the idea of Google for all staff and students. Professional development is always first and foremost on that list, and
some other ideas we can kind of toy around with would be community technology classes and possible parent nights with the teachers. The first thing we tackled was reconvening the technology committee. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, we worked on an email to send out to all staff, and some principals passed it out to their parent communities. We got a ton of people who were interested in joining the committee. It was really great to see all the people who were excited to kind of collaborate and contribute to the vision that we're trying to put together. So the part I'm at right now is we're trying to we're trying to kind of consolidate the numbers so we don't have, hundreds of people on the committee, so we only have about 20. So we're at that stage right now, and then we're going to begin to meet to discuss what the current technology plan is, make any tweaks that are necessary, as well as start kind of planning, what can we do to make learning more exciting and innovative for our kids. The next thing would be changing the support culture. It's been a lot of break fix for a long time. And so like a typical day for a technician, they would check out what their help desk tickets were. They would go to the school, they would fix what they could. They would take a broken machine and take it back to the office, work on what they could, then bring it back the next day. So there's lost instructional time, kind of a delay. So the plan that we come up with would be to rotate the technicians through the schools, have them spend more time out of the schools, push some of the services that we have in-house, like imaging, repairing, push that to be out of the school. So then that way, they look at what their tickets are for the day. Okay, I need this part, this part, this part. I need the image. I'm going to take all that to the school, fix the machine, image it right there. So hopefully minimizing the downtime. We would also continue to maintain the help desk. I've been in several different districts where some like help desk, some didn't. I kind of think it has its place, so we decided to keep the help desk for those teachers who they probably got just a 5-minute question, and if they could just talk to somebody, they could have the issue fixed in just a few seconds. And then just to reiterate, our goal is to have the tech spend more time at the school supporting the teachers, supporting the one-to-one for the ELA adoption, and whatnot.
Okay, quick question.
Sure.
Can't a lot of this be done just virtually anyway?
Well, I'm talking more of like if a computer dies, it breaks, so they have to go out. They got to run diagnostics. It's like a software application you have to run on a computer to find out what's broken,
Okay.
and it usually can't be done like while the computer's running. So you got to like stick a hard flash and run it through like a diagnostic thing. So some of that does require you to be in front of the computer, but there's also an aspect of help desk and support that I think gets lost if you're always remote. And I do believe that a lot of the face-to-face, just knowing, hey, I'm in your classroom, I'm going to take a look at your problem, I'm going to fix your issue, is there anything else I can help you with? There's that customer service that I think is lost when you're always at your desk kind of remotely fixing problems. Yeah, there is a lot that can be done that way, and we will definitely continue to do that. But I do want there to be more face-to-face presence in schools. So we've also worked out a rotation schedule, and we created a Google document, and we shared that with all of the principals, the assistant principals, and office managers. So at any given time, they can look and see when the technician is supposed to be at their site. One of the other things we're working on is if there are any changes to those, like technicians out sick, or we have an emergency, so somebody's going to be talking something else, communicating that to the school so they know, hey, guess what, your tech's not going to be there, we're going to send somebody else in place. And you may be there for a few hours, you may not be able to be there all day, you can be somewhere else, etc. It's all about opening up those lines of communication. And, I forgot that top part there. So we also created a view and ticket system for the principals, the assistant principals, and the office managers, so they can see what tickets are open at their site. So we have, there were some network infrastructure upgrades that were started in order to support the laptop adoption. So all of these 6th through 8th grade classrooms have a wireless array in their classroom to support their one-to-one. We need to continue that in the rest of the schools for the next school year. We need to continue that on in the rest of the classrooms for the rest of the schools for the next school year.
A lot of our network equipment is end of life, so we are going to utilize some E-rate funds this year. Hopefully, we'll get funded for that. We won't know until the fall, exactly, if we get funded. It won't be able to cover all of it because E-rate changed the way they fund category 2. So instead of being able to ask for everything under the sky and USAC paying for it, now they'll only give you $150 per student per school, and that's all you're allowed to spend at each school. So we'll have to kind of be fancy in the way we get USAC to cover certain upgrades at each school. We've also filed for category 1 funding to increase our WAN bandwidth, that's the connection between schools, and the internet bandwidth. So in that way, we're going to double it at the schools. It's 200 now, so it'll be 400 in the fall. And then our internet bandwidth is 500 megabits per second, and we would upgrade that to 800.
Testing, state testing is going to be done in computers somewhat when the state does and whoever gets their computers up and ready to gas. They're wishing, we're trying to meet their, well, we're gonna do it. Okay, yes. Currently, our bandwidth, would that be enough for the state, what they are envisioning?
Currently, it's enough.
What I'm saying, you know, it's, so we don't need to really do that, but it would be better if
Well,
we did.
here's what happens. So, and when we meet with our triads, we're like, basically, they have to do some fancy scheduling to make sure not everybody's testing at the same time. If we have everybody testing at the same time, then it wouldn't be enough. As we kind of refresh technology and we get more out there, there could be the potential to let everybody test at one time. If we want to get to that point, then we have to increase it. So as you are aware, we have the laptop adoption, the ELA for all the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students for fall of 2016. One of the things we talked about at length was the kind of inequity of technology in classrooms among preschool to 5th grade. So we began working on a plan. It's not finalized yet, but I'm just kind of going to go over some of the things we've been working on so you guys are aware of the crazy plans we're trying to hatch over in IT. We are working on a possible 3-year lease purchase for iPad Air 2s that Apple would discount at roughly $399 per iPad. Normally, they sell for $579. They would take a trade-in credit of our 1,000 iPads that we have currently that are old, and we would be refreshing those, plus adding on to our fleet, which will allow us to have 20 iPads per classroom for the preschool to 5th grade classes. That would include a set of 10 keyboards for preschool to 1st grade, and it would include 20 keyboards for 2nd through 5th grade. It includes charging carts that will hold 40, so then that way, if we ever become one-to-one iPads, we've already got capacity for the charging stations. And I think one of the greatest parts of this whole plan that we've come up with is embedded PD. Apple is going to provide an on-site trainer that will move to Phoenix, and they will be a member of our staff for an entire year. And they will work with our teachers in integrating the iPad use into the classroom. It also includes, I didn't include this in the presentation, but it also includes some servers that we would utilize at each school to basically cache the servers. So, John, as you were talking about internet bandwidth, we've got 5,000 iPads that need to get updates. You get your first iPad to go out to get these updates, and the server will then cache it. So then all of the 4,999 iPads will go to the server and send it out to the internet.
So you have servers at each school?
Well, we will. That's all part of this plan. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And it would include engineering services for those. It would include support. It would include training the technicians on how to manage that. And it would also include some technology professional development, like 2-day campaign. That's actually in my presentation at a later date when I talked about professional development. But there is some other aspects of PD in this plan as well.
Right now, how many Does each school have their own server now? Currently?
No, it's not good.
I don't know when I'm aware. How many servers do we have for all the schools and district offices?
For what in particular, the passion you're talking about?
Now, just generally, how many servers do we have to take care of Creighton School District?
Well, all but like 2 of our servers are virtualized. So we probably have, I guess, maybe 14, 15 servers that are virtualized. Yeah. They all sit on a giant virtualized server at the, I'm so used to being at the faculty. So the next part of our here is talking about a projector refresh. And speaking with a lot of different areas, and Kevin, who's our AV person, we've come up with a refresh schedule of mounting projectors at all the schools. And we start with Creighton and Mackin this summer. And so we've gone like a 2-year refresh cycle. And so we got everybody updated, and then we would start probably with tactical Monday session where by then they'll have to do.
Jenny, question for you, and maybe for Dr. Peterson, but I'm the youngest on board. My daughter's 5, she's in preschool, so I haven't seen all of this in action just yet. But I'm curious about iPads to all preschool in 5th grade. Like, what does that look like? Why is that necessary? Like, I understand it in the middle school, and even maybe a little younger than that, but preschool, 1st grade, kinder.
You know, it's funny that you say that. I have a 3-year-old at home,
Yeah.
and she will just grab my iPhone and just start, like, she knows how to get to YouTube, and she watches her videos and stuff. And I've actually read those little articles, and they're actually all included in here at the very end if you want to take a look. There were some studies done on kindergarten classes that had iPads in the classroom. They didn't have one-to-one, but they had a sharing model, and basically the kindergartners scored higher on their achievement test than the students when they shared iPads for the students who had one-to-one or didn't have anything. So there's a lot of research about being able to the touch screen, and you don't have to do a lot of keyboarding yet. So it's that touch screen that makes accessing their apps and motor skill development that much more pertinent when using an iPad.
My daughter uses one and shows me how to use. I'm just curious what that looks like in a classroom. I'm not saying I have a problem with it. I'm just curious, so maybe I'll just take a tour.
This also is an opportunity for them to further develop their language ability as they're working together. It also allows for the teachers to have that instruction and the children to be able to have the opportunity to apply what they're working in. So there's lots of different areas.
And it gives them that exposure so that by the time they are in 2nd grade, they're ready to start the keyboarding lessons, they're ready to get prepared for AV merit by the time they're in 3rd grade. So I think it just gives them that exposure to the technology that they're going to need as they get older.
Thank you.
Google. In my career, I've been a part of 2 Google transitions. One was very long and methodical, and the other one was very quick, like get it done in just a few months kind of thing. So there's a lot of pros and cons to both. But one of the things that me and my colleagues that we really enjoy about Google, number 1, it's free, can't really do that. And 2, it offers unlimited storage space. Now, there's no company anywhere that can offer their clients unlimited storage space. It's too expensive. You have to store it, you have to cool all that server space, and just power it all. It's expensive. So what we would recommend is that for the fall in our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classes, we give all the students and teachers Google accounts so they can start using Google. If your laptop dies, if all their documents are saved in Google Drive, we hand them the laptop, we take the broken one back, we fix it, we put it back in the spare box. That way, no instruction is lost. And they have access to other things. We don't have to worry about saving any data. We don't have to worry about backing anything up. And it's just automatically there. So this would also require us to train teachers, train staff. I would recommend we get put all students and staff on Google starting in the summer, and then let whoever wants to use it, and if not, just kind of put it out there, say, hey, guess what, this is available kind of thing, get them interested in it. Start training them, planting that seed, and then start moving all of the staff to Google for the 17-18 school year. And the reason why I give us a year, because one of the main things you need in order to make the Google migration work is you need account automation. My first district that I was at, we had programmers who, program account creation, and it was all automatic. Nobody had to manually create anything. Passwords automatically synced. You didn't have to worry about kids changing passwords. It was just auto-sync. It was easy. Nobody had to touch anything. At my last district, I was the one that had to manually create passwords and accounts every day, and that could become a full-time job. So we would probably need a year to make sure we had that back end all complete, so that our account creation kids aren't waiting for accounts to be created and everything's just ready.
So can you tell me a little more? So like when I was asking about the IT support, I work for a virtual organization. There are like a handful of us in Phoenix. Most of our folks are spread out all across the country and a few in other countries even. So we get all our support virtually. And then we use Google, which has really like transformed our work. But I swear, like, I am always super scared that like this is Google. Something gets spread, like not just does it like compromise like some of the organizational integrity, but just I'm worried about my own brand. How do we lock that down so we're not exposing our students and staff?
There are some things we can do. If we are concerned about email, we can make it so the students can't send email if that's something we're concerned about. Gaggle also, we currently are Gaggle customers, so we can also incorporate Gaggle into the Gmail platform, so in that way, if students are sending things that, or they're receiving things that are questionable, there is a human part aspect of Gaggle that monitors all that. And something we learned today is they'll actually monitor any data that's in Google Drive as well. So if kids are trying to get around a way of sending email, so they're setting up shared documents in Drive and they're talking about something drug related or whatever, Gaggle can also monitor that as well. So that aspect we can participate. As far as the data being up in Google, one of the things I know about Google is they are leading the industry in security and encryption. And at my last district, Google made it almost impossible for us to filter the traffic that we had Chromebooks that were going to Google. And because of the way Google does its encryption, our web filter was having couldn't figure out how to give the students access to those things because of the way Google does their encryption. So we spent 2 days trying to figure out a way to get our Chromebooks to be able to log into Google because of their crazy encryption. So I can't give you specifics, but I know that Google is actually very secure and almost militant about the way they're security and encryption.
More militant than Apple?
Talk to this person.
Please
So I have a question. So in the way that you've done it before, what do the kids' emails look like? Do the kids own them, or are they like at Creighton?
No, there would be like ij.dotson at CreightonSchools.org. So
Okay.
they would be a part of our setting.
Okay.
I'm trying to think like my previous district, it was just first initial last name. I always thought it should be maybe something a little less identifiable, maybe like a user ID and some letters or initials of their names, just to kind of give them a little bit more back. I think in my first district it was student dot and then their username. So that's how they were able to differentiate whether it was a staff or student.
Okay. Okay.
So there's many different options.
I wanted to also mention that Google presented when I went to the NALEO conference in November, and they have real good clubs and programs for middle schoolers, and especially girls too. And if there's actually some clubs, I've got the information on my other computer a smaller one that I brought with me to the conference, but if the students sign up for these clubs, they actually get free headphones in the mail. So yeah, and the clubs actually trick them into learning programming. So it was a STEM conference, so it was all about tricking the kids into being more technical, and especially girls. So that's, if you want some information, just email me and I'll get you some information on the contact person with Google that can, yeah.
That would be great. Cool. And then, of course, last but not least, there would be PD elements, everything we do. So leading into the professional development tab we have here, we are working on a Dell initiative where we'll have 25 days of training for our ELA adoption. So our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students or teachers will get 25 days of training. And we are working on that as we speak. It's been ongoing since I started, and probably will continue through the year. And then I spoke of the embedded computer Apple, if that proposal goes through. And one of the things that we just think would be so cool, and I was able to do it early on in my career as a tech, we would support the summer technology camps for teachers. We would have teachers come in for like a week-long training in the school, and it was almost like a conference where there would be several different classes going on at the same time, and so the teachers would go to the class and just learn anything. And as a tech, we even got to do a training on like, here's the tips and tricks on how you work your computer. You know, it was really fun to be a part of that, and to give the teachers the opportunity to just kind of like learn without having to then, you know, teach at the same time. You know, so we did it in the summer. That gave them some time to kind of absorb the information we were giving them, and then they could like kind of go through the summer and then be able to take that back into the classroom when school started. And then, of course, we professional development for using Google with the teachers, students, and staff. And I think there would be a big learning curve bringing Google into the classroom so that teachers and students can collaborate with each other. I've not used it, but I know Google Classroom is used widely in here, and then as well as the previous district. And it's kind of like a way for students and teachers to do homework, and you don't have to, there's no paper, nothing's involved, and it's all kind of like a learning management system, or all done free. One of the other things we've been brainstorming is possibly offering computer classes to the Creighton community. And not just like in office products, we have internet browsing, social media was a big one today at the GABA symposium that I was at. Just teaching parents how to be mindful and aware of what their students are doing on social media sites and email and everything they're doing on the internet, because it's kind of a scary world out there, and we need to teach our kids to be mindful of what's out there. And I think we can do what we can here when they're in our four walls, but once they go home, if parents are putting their head in the sand, or they just don't understand, or they're busy, whatever, we need to teach them the things to be looking out for. And I think that would help them bridge that gap with what we're doing here, so that way we can keep our students safe. And then lastly, we have a parent-student technology night. Maybe as it starts, we would bring the parents in and let students showcase the things that they're learning, and then turn that into a big kind of like, thank you, Creighton community, for passing our override. Here's all the cool things we're doing with our technology, and then hopefully if we do that enough times, in 6 years, then we're out. Another one, they will be asked to pass it again. Kind of as a big thank you. Here's what we're doing. Any questions?
I just wanted to make a comment. I don't think I've said this at a board meeting before, except for maybe the study session, but I really think that the social media aspect should be a part of the training for the kid, like part of the curriculum, so that kids are learning themselves, that they're creating a reputation, like starting now. I mean, that's, I think, a critical component of it. I mean, parents for sure too, but since we do have them in the classroom, they need to learn, how critical it is to their.
Right, and that's why I think we need to teach them, and then parents need to teach them. So if they're hearing it from both sides, maybe then they'll start to understand that, hey, when I post this on the internet, it's out there for the world to see.
And there's some really good stories out there that I think are really impactful to kids. Yeah, yeah, scary stories, yeah.
I wanted to just remind you, and you probably already know this, that a lot of our parents are monolingual Spanish. So when, thinking about computer classes and things like that, please keep in mind, the language of the parent.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that kind of an opportunity to also give them exposure to something they may not have at home either. So they get to
Yes,
come in,
definitely.
use a computer. Let's set you up with a Gmail account. Let's get you communicating, or you need to apply for this job, and here's how you do it. Kind of those kinds of things that could, I think, help them in bridging that gap for themselves, but also with their students.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
I know that in the past, it was many years ago, and I can't remember the man. He used to be a classroom teacher, and then he moved and did IT. Tall guy, I can't remember. But anyway, at Gateway, I know he had a program when he was doing that community ed. It was so well received. The parents absolutely loved it. But of course, like the funding was always an issue. But that was such a powerful, giving people a Gmail account, setting up a Gmail, showing them how to set up their Gmail so that they could take a look for jobs and stuff like that, which is really great. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Then my last slide, I said I had some resources up there if you guys want to check out these articles. They were really, really good articles about why we put iPads for kids and what it can do, how it can transform. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Ms. for that presentation.
We're really excited you're in Creighton with us. Thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
excited to be here.
Doesn't show.
All right, that takes us to the legislative political report from Carl.
Thank you. So I wanted to commend the board for being courageous in making statements about legislative bills that we care deeply about and political issues that aren't necessarily bills. I know that the action that we took as a board is one of the few across the state, and it definitely garnered some recognition, and I think positive recognition for the things we want to be known for. I know other districts had reached out to get a copy of what we were doing. So I think we are as a board, especially one that isn't necessarily impacted by some of the legislation, kind of leading the way and creating space for others. I thought it was interesting that there was a lot of conversation about the desegregation phase out bill. We took action. Some others did as well, especially districts that are impacted by it directly, not us. But after we did this, we started to see more and more people come out, including the mayor. That bill is still in play, but it hasn't received a hearing because they don't necessarily have the votes. I wouldn't rest. If you see the action alerts from some of our education partners, don't hesitate to sign in, call, and continue to put the pressure on. But I think we're on the right side there. Furthermore, the vouchers bill that we took, people talk that's a hot topic right now, with Proposition 123 in play as well, which is different from the legislature. It looks like that might not have the votes as well. So don't rest, but I did want to just say thank you. Our actions do make a difference. We are leading the way. If you're not yet registered on the request to speak system that the Arizona School Boards Association helps us get registered for, perhaps we can get someone in here to train us how to do that. Because when I go into the system and I look at the people who have signed in for and against bills, I see some of our colleagues, only one school system signs in because they have a lobbyist, Scottsdale School District. We might want to consider that as well for future, that's for committee meetings. We're past that for this session. But I think there are more tools where we can beef up our legislative advocacy if we choose to continue doing so. Yeah, that's all I had. I was hoping Dr. Lewis might have some more on current year funding, if there's been any discussion on that.
No, it's been really silent out there. More worry than action.
Yeah, there's all the legislative bills that are in place, and our friends at the Alphabet Soups have been kind of trying to get folks to come forth as this board very courageously took a stand. We haven't seen a lot of action with folks taking stands, although I will tell you that some of our neighboring districts like Falls put forward a statement as well. So folks are trying to create some awareness, but the awareness doesn't seem to be getting a lot of traction this year.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that some of the proponents for the desegregation funding phase out, I read this in the newspaper. By the way, Jeannie, you were quoted, so thank you. It didn't identify who these people are, right? But they said it was unfair to the districts who don't get the desegregation funding. And although we would definitely put additional dollars to good use for kids, like we don't get the funding, we're not complaining it's unfair, but they wouldn't identify who those people were. I thought that was fascinating.
Nor were there quotes.
There were no quotes. Nothing was attributed to anyone. It was this mysterious, they think it's unfair, meaning us. But, yeah. Anyway, let's keep bringing the heat, leading the way.
Your press release that came out from your vote to send this message was also posted by the Expect More Arizona and the AZSOS Facebook sites.
Oh, great.
In other words, it was touted as courageous by them as well.
And what I also see, Dr. Lewis, and I know that we wouldn't make decisions because this isn't an action item, but I have seen some superintendents more than in the past speak up on behalf of their districts and about the legislative impacts. I've never really seen that in our district. I don't know if our former governing team ever had an appetite for that, but I think we should consider that for future items when and if necessary. So I look forward to having those conversations in addition to what the board's going to do. Maybe there's more that you and cabinet should be engaged in. So we can discuss that at a different time as necessary.
Thanks, Carl. And that will take us to future agenda items.
March 17th, first and one of those projected bond costs. I think we should bring up the bond issue. If we want to go for the selection cycle, before April or something like that.
I think the deadline date for is actually in early June for the board to work with the county in order to get that election on the board.
But I think we should get more information, definitely have a discussion on that thing. Putting to a vote right away, something like that. If we decide we have to make a decision on it.
So are you saying that you want, in addition to the projected bond cost, that you want it to be,
Regarding the bond.
but you don't want it to be an action item, or do? Okay, all right. Okay.
What does that mean on cost? Right, is that all that it means?
I'm not sure who wrote that agenda, but I would imagine what it means is what it costs to run an agenda, and then what the actual costs, prioritized expenses would be for what the board would be asking for. So if it was one school or 3 schools or phases, you heard pieces of information, and I probably should be getting a ding by Hilda or Chris right now, but we don't, it's not agendized right now. So the point might be, as we agendize more information,
We want to look at, try not to make sure I'm talking about the item. We want to look at which schools and which phases. Is that what you're saying, Ms. Young?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think we need to add something to that agenda item. For instance, we didn't talk about Creighton School. And it would be good to have information about costs for that school specifically. Well, we don't have costs for anything, I guess. We just have.
Yeah, so just to keep us germane, if I may, what I'm hearing is more information on bonds and overrides, or sorry, the bonds, and we can collect the details where we're not discussing it here. I just want to make sure we're not violating lines and discussing it. Because I feel the urge to jump in.
To clarify, and don't do it. So to clarify, the request for a future agenda item is there is a request for more information on the actual prioritized true costs of the phases of building improvements to then choose whether you want to go after a bond or not. Okay, we will have that for you.
Thank you.
Anything else for future agenda items?
Yes, I have one. I like, so I think I need a gold bond card to write this up, but I'm still interested in the students who miss specials due to extended English block classes, who miss art, music, and PE in some of the schools. I know it's not happening in all the schools, but I'd like if we could get a list of the students who are currently do not go to specials, including how long this particular student has been not going to specials and what school they're attending. So any kind of data, including all that, if we could get some information on that. And I guess that can go on the board docs so we can read it and then see how that's working out. Thank you.
Anyone else? Future agenda items? All right, well, that brings us to the final.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
We love long meetings.